Well, welcome back, everybody, to another season of the Kev Indiana Jones Show. I am Kev Indiana Jones. Welcome to what's hopefully going to be a fantastic season. They all have been thus far, so why the hell wouldn't this one be? So it's backwards right now, but on YouTube it won't be. You know, whatever. All the cool filters have been removed from Instagram. So what can you do? We'll improvise. It'll be fine on YouTube later on if people want to watch it again. So anyways, welcome to the show. It's been a while. I haven't done a show this year yet. This is the first one. I think the last one was in November, probably. Maybe even before November. I think it might have been. So not a whole lot has happened indie-wise, like product-wise. I have gotten a couple cool things. I got some cool stuff for my birthday back in April. Johnny Bombs. Got me. Well, he didn't get me. He had these extra. A couple of what is it? A pop? Is it Funko or is it just pop? Yeah, Funko Pop thingies. They got the short round, and then we got the big old Boulder Escape thing. That's pretty incredible. I did not expect to get that at all from him. And then Raymond Chu gave me this incredible, gorgeous thing. It's as close as you can get to the Dial of Destiny pajama top that he is wearing at the end with the bandage going across his chest. I have worn this many a time. This is quite the gift to have. So thank you so much, Raymond, for that. And then otherwise, really the only thing I've gotten since the last show is these new Alden 404s, which have these amazing soles there. Commando, I guess they are. I love this color a lot. I know it doesn't have the white stitching there, but I don't care. They fit beautifully. I will be getting rid of those other ones I have eventually because they were just too big and they hurt my feet. And going to Florida this past month, I realized that I've been wearing the wrong shoe size for many a shoe, which is surprising to me, but you know that's what you get when you order shoes online all the time. It's nice to actually go to a place and see what your shoe size really is. That's pretty much it for the products. I like I said, I haven't done anything otherwise. I've cut back very, very much on my spending things, preparing for the future. Where my wife and I were going to buy a house. Hopefully in Rochester soon. It'll be, look at me showing some skin out of nowhere. Look at me going. Look at that. That's our primary goal right now. So I'm not really buying fun stuff because I already have enough. I already have plenty of fun stuff. But I have gone on some fun adventures with some other indie cosplayers from the tri-state area. Let's see. Back in I don't know. I don't know if it was last year. Time has no meaning anymore, so it doesn't matter. A bunch of us went to the Explorers Club in New York, in Manhattan, and that was awesome. We were treated kind of like celebrities somehow. I thought it was a dinner for schmucks sort of situation. I thought we were getting invited just to be made fun of and laughed at. But turns out no. They told us that we were more popular than the astronauts that were there earlier that week. That blew my mind, but also filled my heart. That was really, really cool. We talked to some amazing people. There was an actual Indiana Jane, I believe is what she was called, who is a female archaeologist who's gone on these crazy adventures. She didn't really, I don't think she killed anyone. If she did, she didn't tell us. That would have made the story a whole lot cooler, but she was cool as it was anyways. That was awesome. We saw the Goonies in the Times Square Theater where Last Crusade will be playing next month. June 15th we're going. It's a Sunday. So if anyone's in the area around Times Square, it's the AMC Empire 25. I believe it's 7 o'clock. And it's going to be a hell of a fun time. I can't wait to do that. I haven't seen it on the big screen in a good while. That's going to be a blast. We also went to Central Park, and that's where we did some gift exchanging. I gave Johnny some old pants that never fit me. He gave me these things. I got the shirt, and we did some whip cracking in Central Park. And I was very, very hesitant to do that at first. I was nervous, but turns out it got hell of a crowd, hell of a response. Ray was just whipping back and forth. He was kicking ass. and people were starting to surround, and I was kind of, I was letting him do his thing. I didn't feel the need to quite then. But then when I stepped forward and finally did mine, I did the upward one. And there's like a couple crowd of people that were just like, oh, and that was pretty cool. That was a pretty cool feeling. And I only had this hat on, as a matter of fact, because it was going to rain that day. So I didn't take anything too fancy to the park that day. But I had that and just the shirt on, so I wasn't too cosplay-y. But people knew what we were doing. It was really, really fun. So yeah, and hopefully this weekend, weather permitting, we're going on a hike. That'll be awesome. It'll be around the area that I usually go on vacation. Hopefully around there. We'll see what happens. If it rains, maybe we'll end up going to the Bronx Zoo, which is a very cool place. I love the Bronx Zoo. And, you wouldn't think it, but there's a lot of really cool indie picture opportunities there. So that'll be a lot of fun. And also, it'll be fun to see animals and snakes and stuff like that. Oh, I did forget about one thing. I do have 2 items that I had my eye on them for a while, and I'm really glad I got it. I'm going to limit these because I don't really need anything beyond this. But this is the original magazine for Temple of Doom. Which I think you would be able... No, I don't even... Yeah, there's that. I think you'd find it at, like, grocery stores when it first came out. Beautiful pictures. I'm pretty sure I had this as a child. And, yeah, because some of these pictures look very familiar to me, like this spread of it. It's really, really beautiful. So I'm really glad I got that on eBay for, like, $8 or something like that. And this one is the one I really had to limit myself on, because I used to subscribe to this magazine, along with the Back to the Future fan club magazine. But yeah, the Lucasfilm fan club magazine with my favorite image of Indy ever. This is just gold to me. This I had when this came out, I think when I was 11 years old, and I was just obsessed with everything, every page in this magazine. So it's just really cool to have this kind of thing again. That's the wonderful thing about being an adult, is just being able to buy crap like that you used to have and you don't have anymore, but now you do. So anyways, that kind of wraps us up real quick on what we've been up to. I'm sure you've had a lot of things going on since my last show. I'm very glad that you're all here with me right now, whether you're watching right now on Instagram, which I see many people are, and that's making me very, very happy. Or you watch this later on YouTube, where everything is reversed. But I got to tell you, I'm much more comfortable with it being like this, because I never got quite used to seeing the actual mirror, like not the non-mirror mirror, because you're never used to looking in a mirror and seeing it exactly as things are, which is weird to think about, because like you're looking in the mirror and you're like, yeah, I look good, maybe I look good, but then you have to realize, no, that's not what I look like at all. Reverse that image. And so sometimes when you open up, what a weird tangent, you open up the medicine cabinet, if you have one, and you can fuck with the reflections, and you can actually see your real reflection in there. And oftentimes you'll see like your mirror reflection, be like, I look good, and then you see the real you, and you're like, oh God, no, this is terrible, and you have to fix everything. I'm sure that happens to many of you. It happens to me a little too often. That's why I don't like looking in the mirror that much, which I do when I'm wearing this kind of stuff. When it's just me, I've seen me. I don't need to see me any further. Anyways. So yeah, on with the show. Let's get things going. My first guest of the season is someone that I met on my big out California trip last year. He was not with us in Yosemite, but I saw him at the brewery with a bunch of the other California Joneses. And it was just such a pure delight to meet this fellow, because we had talked so much online, and doing this before. He was on my first season as well. So getting to meet him was just incredible, and I'm really, really glad that he's the one that opens up the season this season. And we're going to be talking about something that I've never talked about before: Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. It maybe should have just been called Dan the Crystal Skull, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I was never a big fan of all those words, but what can you do? I will be honest, I wasn't a big fan of that movie in general. It has taken a long time for me to get to a point where I like the first half. I don't love it. I like it. I like it a lot sometimes. Beyond the first half, once Marion shows up, I really feel like things go downhill. But Harrison does give it his all, and I do need to talk about it because it's an indie film, and I can't ignore it any further. The only thing I have from that movie is actually very utilitarian, in that I can use it as a utility. I don't know if did I use that word right, utilitarian. Practical. It's very practical. The actual, it's not from the movie, but it's a vintage, authentic German mountaineer rucksack, and this thing is sturdy. I tell you what, my friends, this can go up a mountain and back. The one that you can buy from Soldier of Fortune, I don't think it was What Price Glory, but yeah, no, that one fell apart when I was just running in the airport. This one, nope, this one is made of very sturdy material, and I'm very happy about that. So if I have one thing from the movie, at least it's something cool. It's something cool like that, and it'll remain that way. So yeah, let's see if our guest is out there, Nathan Smith-Finley. If you are indeed out there, let's see if I can do this right. Oh, one must be fucked with, you know. All right, turned on video.
Oh, why does it always do that? It always flips to the wrong side. Hello!
Well, I can't see you, but I can hear you at the very least. I'll take it.
All right, well, I hope everyone else can see me, but hello, my good friend. Wonderful to be back on the show.
How are you, pal? How are you tonight?
I'm doing really good, man. I'm doing really, really well. And it's funny, you showed off that Temple of Doom magazine. I have that same one.
Oh, cool.
That was gifted to me by a buddy of mine many, many years ago. He gave me that and the Raiders version of that magazine.
How is the Raiders one? I was thinking about getting it. Is it better if I do this or this?
So much. There are so many wonderful bits in that magazine that really tell you what a lightning in a bottle experience Raiders was in the making.
Cool. Oh, that sounds awesome.
So,
okay, then I should probably get that then.
Yeah. But I kind of feel bad because I had some more pieces of Crystal Skull gear about 2 weeks ago than I do now. If this had been done earlier, I would have been wearing my Vintage, which was a Crystal Skull.
Oh, no kidding.
Configuration. Yeah, it was a Harrison that I had bought secondhand, and I sold it recently because I don't wear it that often, and I felt bad about it collecting dust, so I wanted it to go to somebody who I knew could get the mileage out of it that it deserved. And then I had a Wade Egan Crystal Skull holster, which I just sold off. But of Crystal Skull, I do have a few things, which is, and I'm so sad you're not going to be able to see it until the playback, but I have the Lost Journal of Indiana Jones, which is a promotional item that came out during the time of Crystal Skull, and is probably one of my favorite things that just kind of ever came out of that era. It is
very clever.
It's very clever, and not a lot of people know this, but Indy Magnoli was the author behind this novel, this particular piece, because he'd already made kind of such tremendous noise with all of his cosplay and his with his business that Lucasfilm was like, "Hey, we know that you're a replicator. Can you make this for us?" And he was like, "I'll do my best," and that's what we got. So that's why there's a lot of in-depth, sort of really niche knowledge that usually isn't in other official releases. But aside from that, I do also have this really wonderful magazine, the official magazine of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I picked this up at my local library for I think 75 cents, not even $1.
No. Yeah.
And I love it a lot because it's in really pristine condition. Like this is a magnificent magazine, and it really takes me back to the excitement of Crystal Skull coming out. And then I also have this tiny little Crystal Skull Indy figure, this little old Indy, no jacket, hat is removable. I really like these old Hasbro figures. I think they're neat. I much more prefer the Adventure series, and I kind of wish that series had continued
Mhm.
because I would love to have seen a modern Crystal Skull figure in that Adventure
Yeah,
series
that would have been
scale.
awesome. That was my preferred
But
scale as a child. I got to say that scale was my preferred action figure because yeah, I don't know. You get more. You get a lot of space that way. You don't have to have a confined space when it's something small like that. You can make the action set a whole lot bigger. I really love that size.
right, yeah, the 3 3/4 inch scale, and I'm not surprised that that is your preferred scale, seeing as how you grew up in the '80s, and that was the official size of Kenner Indiana Jones and Kenner Star Wars.
And also
So
GI
I
Joe.
understand that. Oh
Also
yeah,
GI
and
Joe.
GI Joe,
Yes.
the first real posable action
Oh
figure. His legs could
man.
bend and everything, and he could sit in his car. Anyway, but Crystal Skull, it has a really nostalgic place in my heart because I remember I will never forget the first time I ever saw the trailer. I was at home, and I had already been a fan of Indy since I could remember. I had a Dorfman Pacific, I had a closet build costume, but then I was just going through Charter on Demand. If anybody remembers that, that's how I dated myself. But essentially, it was streaming service before streaming services,
Okay. Okay.
and they had movie trailers that you could watch at any point. And I remember flicking through one day and seeing Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and I was like, "That's not a movie I've heard of before." So I clicked on it, I watched it, and it was that really great teaser trailer that showed all of the snippets from the other films, like he,
Save the cradle of
yeah,
civilization and all that stuff.
exactly that stuff, and then it just has that great cut to the fedora on the ground and him picking it up in the silhouette, and then I still remember the first time I saw the stunt where he swings from the light post. I reenacted that so many times as a kid because I thought that was the most Indiana Jones thing ever. And then I remember just being very excited, and I saw the film May 23rd, 2008. I will never forget that. May 23rd, 2008, right after school. My mom dropped me off at the local movie theater with my sister, and she and I watched it, and she was not a fan like I was. So there was a lot of questions that she was asking, and I remember being very confused when the film ended, and I tried to kind of defend it in my mind of like, well, this is an indie for my generation, and it's trying to appeal to kids who grew up on like Star Wars or Stargate and Star Trek, that kind of thing. So that's why it leaned a little bit more into the sci-fi element. And then there was the longest time after that where I became kind of vehemently against Crystal Skull. And it took a really wonderful conversation with a fellow indie, just being like, the film is not as bad as everyone says it is. And I kind of
You guys
sat down there.
definitely helped me with that. You guys have definitely helped me recognize that there is a lot of good in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that does make a difference for sure. And I just do want to say that the Kevin 11 has already begun because you've already answered my first two questions. Just in natural conversation. It was, were you a fan of Indy before Crystal Skull? And then, can you remember the build up to the movie? And you answered both of those just quite naturally and beautifully, my friend. So I do appreciate you being tuned in already.
My favorite, one thing I do want to say is one of my favorite pieces of build up to Crystal Skull, because I am a kid of the internet age. I remember YouTube very much in its burgeoning years. Which, really quick, how do I sound? I'm testing out a microphone that I got recently. Am I sounding all right to you guys? Okay, great. Anyway,
To me.
sweet.
How do I look?
So,
as long as we're talking about this, how do I look? Should I raise or lower my camera?
you look fantastic.
Awesome.
You look absolutely excellent.
Okay, wow. I can't wait to see how you look.
Thank you.
Also, real quick, I do want to say that the commentary you did with Kirk, I forgot to bring this up before. The commentary you did with Kirk with The Last Crusade was a blast because it made me feel like I truly was with you guys. But you need to get on it and watch that behind the scenes thing. Get your ass to that after this episode. Please watch that, for the love of God.
Will do. But one of the biggest things I remember about the lead up to Crystal Skull was that there were a lot of YouTube channels. The two I remember most were a YouTube channel called Indie Mogul or backyard effects, and it taught young filmmakers how to kind of make really cool special effects or props on a limited budget.
Sounds very familiar. That sounds very familiar to me.
And they did an entire month's worth of indie related special effects. So they did the face melting from Raiders. They taught you how to make a crystal skull out of gelatin and stuff. Yeah. And then there was another YouTube channel, Waverly Films, that did a short crossover piece with them, with Indie Mogul, about Crystal Skull. And I just remember being so excited that the internet was excited like I was about Indie coming back to the big screen. And we kind of got that again with Dial of Destiny. But there was, I guess it's just kind of me looking at it through rose-tinted glasses, but there was a special kind of excitement about Crystal Skull. Everyone just
it killed at box office too. It did really, really well. So there was a lot of excitement for it.
It really did very well at the box office, and that is something that really needs to be recognized and commended. Is that at the time 15-year-old IP just killed on its opening weekend. And
its competition, it's a young audience. It's a young audience out there, and the fact that it did so well was very, very impressive. I remember vividly going, and there were some things that threw me off, and it kind of honestly is at the very beginning. It famously begins with the prairie dog CGI mount. How did that make you feel?
To this day, I still think that is the strangest opener.
Okay, good. Yes, because it is. Because it is.
Because you have the three original openers: Raiders, the Paramount logo turning into the mountain in Peru; Temple of Doom, the mountain, essentially just the Paramount logo on a giant gong; and then in Last Crusade, the Paramount logo turning into the famous mountains of Utah. Those were really well done. Those were that got you immediately into it. You understood where you were, and you were like, okay, here we go. And then all of a sudden, Crystal Skull starts, and it just this little mound of dirt, and then a prairie dog pops out, and you're like, oh, oh dear. So, but I will say, shortly after that, once it actually starts getting into the warehouse sequence, I will never refer to it as Area 51. I'm sorry, that is one thing I will stick to my guns about. I will not refer to it as Area 51. But when the warehouse scene actually starts, to me, that's when the film really gets good. I love it when Indy and Mac are being held up at gunpoint, and Indy is still just as cool as he ever was, And there's just that line I think all of us have used at one point in our lives of, well, this ain't gonna be easy. Not as easy as it used to be. I love that so much. And then again, just that entire warehouse sequence of the contents of that box are highly magnetic. You want my help or not?
Right.
That is just it's like the opening of Dial of Destiny. It's just a perfect miniaturized indie adventure. You don't need to know what happened before. You're just currently in the middle of the action. You pick up the details along the way, and then as soon as it's over, it's like, dang, I need a cigarette.
Right. I love how it implies that he's still going and doing stuff, still digging for shit, still digging up graves. And one thing I really appreciate that I'm pretty sure they did on purpose was show him climb up those crates all by himself.
Yeah.
And that was not CGI. I think they did that to show, look, he's still got this, okay? This isn't going to be a ridiculous old man movie. Look at him climb up. Can you do that? And I was like, shit, that'd be tough for me to do, even at the age of 28, for Christ's sakes. Which also, how old were you when the movie came out? How old were you?
I was 13 years old when Crystal Skull came out.
Okay.
And I remember watching a behind-the-scenes snippet that they had put on YouTube at the time, talking about how Harrison was in his late 60s and still wanting to do a majority of his stunts, and how the studios were like, you could do that in the 80s, but we're really hesitant about you doing that now. And he goes, no, I can do it. And so, watching him climb those boxes, watching him actually knowing that he's the one truly swinging on the whip during that warehouse sequence, that really lended to the authenticity of, at the time, this might be the last hurrah, and Harrison wants you to know that he's still Indiana Jones, and that was just really
That's very,
solid.
very true. We're talking about the warehouse scene. That's when we meet Mac for the first
Yeah.
time in the franchise, who was kind of a bit of a confusing character. How did you feel about his addition to the movie?
So, being being who I am, I have always liked learning about films, both pre and post production. And when I okay, how do I explain this? Mac has always been a confusing character to me. And when I read the original script, City of the Gods by Frank Darabont, which in my opinion is a slightly better story, the Mac character was a Russian immigrant who had become an American and was doing digs with Indy. And to me, him being a double agent made more sense. Of like, okay, well, he's already got that Russian background, so
Right.
that can easily lay the seeds of he's a double agent. Having Mac be a double agent simply because he's got a gambling addiction was really dumb and very out of place, especially when you look at everyone else that's been around Indy and followed him on his journeys. Sala, Elsa, Marion, Short Round, all those characters. Mac is just the odd man out and is there clearly to just be a foil, and he just kind of feels like he's there because the script says he needs to be.
Right.
And it's like, no,
Someone
he
needs
really
them
doesn't.
to do this. Someone needs them to get to this point. Let's just make a guy. What is his name? I don't know, Mac, whatever.
Yeah.
He wasn't the greatest at all. In fact, he may be my least favorite character in the entire franchise. And I'm sure many out there maybe appreciate him because the actor himself is awesome. Don't get me wrong. Ray Winstone is awesome. But the fact that when at the end he winks at Indy, goes, "Indy, I'll be all right." And he just lets go of the whip, but then he screams, "Ah!"
Yeah.
You just think you're going to be all right, and then you're just you're peeing your pants right now. Like, what the hell, pal?
In my
opinion,
I apologize. I don't mean to cut you off.
in
my opinion, it would have made more sense if Oxley was sort of the Mac character, and he only betrays Indy because he's so messed up in the head from having dealt with the skull for so long that
that'd
he
be
just
all right. That's not
differentiate. It's that, and that would make the scene of help, go get help. It would have made it that much more like, oh, this poor guy, he doesn't know any better. And if Oxley had gone off with the aliens saying, "Don't worry, I'll be all right," that would have made more sense. But also, I feel like that movie kind of like greatly misused John Hurt, which is
big time,
really sad because Doctor Who did a better job incorporating John Hurt as a long-time character that's only being seen now instead of Crystal Skull. But you got to take the rough with the smooth, and for all of its scruples and foibles, there are some very wonderful moments in Crystal Skull. Like, whenever Marion and Indy are on screen together, there is that classical Raiders romance between them. And Karen Allen is just fabulous. She easily slides back into Marion like no time had passed at all. And so that's something I always love watching anytime that I watch Crystal Skull.
Well, that's my number 6 question. That was number 6. So you're very good at this, my friend.
Oh, thank you so much.
Did you embrace Shia LaBeouf as Mutt, or was there resistance to the character at all?
I've never liked Mutt. I don't think I'll ever like Mutt. I think I would have liked Mutt better if it wasn't Shia LaBeouf. And that's no shade to Shia in 2008, because in 2008 I was a big supporter of Shia LaBeouf. I loved him in Holes. I loved him in Even Stevens. He just felt terribly out of place as Indiana Jones's son. If they had gotten somebody more like a just for I guess the sake of an example, like if they had gotten somebody like a Chris Pine, I would have bought that a little bit more.
That would
like I would have looked cool. I would have looked at Chris Pine and been like, yeah, I could see you being the kid of Marion and Indy, you know. But every time that Shia kind of comes around, there's too much of a softness to Mutt. And I understand that he's young, but he's the son of Indiana Jones, so I feel like there needs to be a bit more of that. There's too much that he's his own character, and not like there are influences of his father that he didn't know about until he finally met him.
Right. Yeah. He kind of seems like a poser to me, to be quite honest, the way he dresses and acts.
Yeah. And then
he don't know what he's doing.
And then let's also just be glad that he never put on the hat.
I was so close to standing up and storming out of that theater and like kicking people over. Oh man, that was gonna be awful for everyone. Yeah, that was tricky of them. That was tricky. They knew that we were gonna be like, you fucking don't put that hat on.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just one of those things. Like now, in hindsight, Mutt is just kind of a tertiary character to me, and I I will never forget when we were all theorizing about Dial of Destiny. I was in a group chat with some friends, and we were like, we haven't heard anything about Mutt. Is he going to be in the movie? Yeah. And I can't remember who. I think it was Pete Cacioppo had joked, no, Mutt died in Vietnam. And we were like, oh, ha, 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 yeah, that's so funny. And then it actually happened in the movie, and I kind of remember we all sat there collectively in the theater and went, I feel bad for joking about that now.
That's fucking fantastic. Oh my god. So yeah, like I said, you answered number 6 already. I just went back to number 5 about Shia. So yeah, Karen Allen is clearly having a blast as her return as Marion. There are some things that are questionable, like the way she just drives off the cliff so confidently, thinking that it's all going to work out. That shit kind of threw me off a little bit.
It's one of those things of, and it's one of the small problems that I have with Crystal Skull is that it is one of the films where the plot is driving the characters, and the characters aren't driving the plot. And that to me is a problem that kind of has permeated a lot in modern films, of just the plot says we have to do this, so we're going to go do it. Not, this is the most logical next step, so let's go do it. And it's one of the things that does take me out of the movie from time to time, like Marion driving off the cliff, or how in the ever-loving shit does the American government not know that the Russians have this giant forest-eating machine. Like, I expected more government intervention in Crystal Skull because of that sequence after the nuclear detonation, where Indy is being sort of talked down to by all these CIA agents, one of them being the janitor from Scrubs, which still makes me laugh.
It was also the cop and the fugitive, so he had, and is also in Shrinking. They seem to like each other. I don't know why, but they keep on ending up in the same things together.
But I expected there to be like this. What I had wanted was this really amazing sequence at the climax of the film, when they're starting to get closer to the kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Where the Russians and like there's a whole bunch of CIA members who have been tailing Indy since Barnett College kind of all butt heads, and in the chaos, Indy and everyone else kind of like sneaks off. I think that would have been much stronger to just have it be the Russians and Indy. I mean, yeah, because, you know, Nazis in Indy, there was no American intervention then, but because Spielberg and Lucas had leaned in so heavily to referencing the Red Scare to set up the timeline that Crystal Skull was in, it would have made more sense to have more CIA U.S. intervention because they suspect Indy is a spy. Like, the fact that Indy just leaves the country, no questions asked, comes back, no questions asked.
Gets married.
Gets married, and everyone's just like, oh, yeah. All right.
What happened over there? It doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter. Aliens? Oh, those things aren't real. So, yeah, I just, that's just my only thing, is I wish there was a little bit more leaning into the time period that the film is set in, because that's something that has always been a trait that I've loved about the original trilogy, was that no matter the year it was set in, Spielberg and Lucas kind of leaned into that time and really highlighted this is the point in history that Indy is existing in. And that's one of the biggest things that I loved about the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles.
Yeah.
Is it did the same thing. Also, I love the fact that Young Indy is outright mentioned in Crystal Skull, making the series canon. Makes me so happy.
I was with my best friend Rich. We just looked at each other like, did they just reference Young Indy? We're just like, yeah!
And it's
Other
funny.
people in the audience were like, what the hell are they talking about? But I was just like, oh my God, that was so cool to see.
And it's funny that I mentioned that because I was working on my Young Indy journal replica today.
Cool.
Yeah, so I got a blank Young Indy journal many years ago, and the idea that I've got with this is because I have references of the screen used journal and like what's inside it. So it's only about 96 pages. There's more than that in this. So the idea was I was going to fill those out and then fill in the gaps with like the video games, the comics, all the way up to Dial of Destiny, as though Indy has had the same journals since he was a kid.
That's bad.
Which was also kind of the idea of the Lost Journal of Indiana Jones. So I was kind of keeping up with that idea. But where were we? Yeah, I wanted Crystal Skull to lean a little bit more into the 50s vibe, and it only did so for a brief minute. And it kind of makes me sad because there's a lot of really interesting ideas that they could have posed. And again, it really makes me sad because the screenwriter, David Cope.
Yeah.
He's written some of the best screenplays, like Jurassic Park, The Shadow, and especially with The Shadow, he really leaned into the radio drama, the comics, the pulps that character was based off of, making all these references.
The time period.
Leaning into the time period. So it's like, I just don't understand why they didn't do that with Crystal Skull, but that's just
that little bit of time, like you said, they mentioned the possibility, like the Red Scare, the CIA, but then they also bring up that Indy was in the war.
Yeah,
Indy did a lot for the war. They introduced so many possibilities. Like, I remember my imagination just going like, holy shit! Like the things that we could see based on that alone, just that.
That Indy was a double agent during the war in Berlin. The fact that,
if not hundreds of things we could see, a new like just animated shows or even comic books. Like, there's so many things based on just real life events and real life things that they could just pop Indy in.
Exactly.
Like, I don't think it would be disrespectful for them to do that.
But they did it very well with the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles and having a young Indy kind of slide into a lot of historical events or meeting historical characters and it feeling natural because, well, he's just in the right place at the right time.
He was Gump before Gump.
Yeah, and it would have leaned into that. One of my favorite lines from Belloc of Raiders of we're merely passing through history. This is history. Mm-hmm. Because that's always been one of my favorite things about Indy is that, he's passing through history, but he's recognizing that. He recognizes that on a constant basis.
Absolutely. And he's not only studying it, he's part of it, but then also takes a step back from it all and understands it all. But yeah, I mean, the use of time, actually, as you just mentioned, is important, that they could go on and use the Russians instead of the Nazis, and that way we could get Kate Blanchett chewing the scenes and W's, as Indy put it, which I think Kate Blanchett is one of the best parts of the movie. How did you feel about them bringing in the Russians instead of the Nazis? Was it weird to see him against a different set of bad guys, or did it kind of fit for you?
For me, it made sense. For me, as somebody who, even at that time, was very big into studying history, to have Indy switch from dealing with the Nazis because it's in the lead up of World War II to now dealing with the Red Scare and the communist threat. That made a lot of sense, and to me, I was like, that's a natural progression. And I am such I pardon my language, but I am such a slut for Cate Blanchett. Every time she's in a movie, I've got to see it. I don't care if it's a good movie or not, because I know that beautiful woman is going to do a great job.
Incredible. Have you seen Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou?
Oh,
the Bill Murray movie?
Love Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. It's a Bill Murray movie. Come on, man. It's a Bill Murray film, and it's one of the best that has ever been made.
It's true.
I will never forget the first time I watched Life Aquatic. I was just, oh man, I was like, why did I go so long without watching this? Because I watched it, God, I want to say maybe 5 years ago or so. And I was so amazed that I had waited that long.
Oh, that was the first time you saw it? Oh my God. I saw it when it came out of the Beverly Center, I think it was. I saw it when I lived back in LA. It was back in 2004, and I saw it with my real good friend Andrew. And it was just such like whatever the reverse of Abomination is. Like, it was just such a joyful movie that
It's such a blast.
When he cries at the end, I cry at the end. Like, every time, it just fucking gets me. I mean, we're talking about a different movie now. I love that movie so much, and I'm glad that you do too. Moving on to question number 8 out of the Kevin 11. Creatures, icky things have always been a part of Indiana Jones, and even with the real stuff, there's fake ones thrown in there, fake snakes, fake bugs, and fake rats, the fake automatic things. But in Crystal Skull, it was all just fake ants. Were you as disappointed with that as I was?
In the big damn ant scene? Yeah. I think it's because it felt a little too much like retreading Temple of Doom territory. I feel like Temple of Doom did a much better job at putting our heroes in the midst of just really gross, bug-covered areas.
Like ick. Just icky ick.
Yeah. And I feel as though because they were in the deep jungle, they could have done something more interesting, like maybe, I don't know, an undiscovered species of killer ape, something like out of Congo. Or what would have been better, and I hate the fact that it's so overlooked, is those who protect the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Those Mayan guards.
Yeah.
It would have been so much better to have them be the looming threat in the jungle. Because of how close they're getting, it would make sense that they would put like lookouts or something, and they would have traps or whatever. So I feel it would have been more interesting to have a sort of, I don't know, retreading of Ewok territory, seeing how these how
that would have been pretty cool.
Old world meets the new world, essentially.
And that's something Lucas loves to do. But Piranha is what they should have done. That's fucking South America.
Piranhas, especially when they go into the rivers. Yeah. That would have made a lot of sense.
That would have been it. People are terrified of piranha still, even though you could probably swim with piranha and be fine, unless you have some blood or like a flesh hanging out. But yeah, okay. It was gross when she squeezes her knees together and it hits the screen.
Yeah,
all that is fake too. It's all gross but fake. So that was a bummer. But
what's interesting is
there was a fun too.
Yeah. What's interesting is that in that scene, it's something that's not talked about very often, but there was supposed to be an ambiguous ending to that scene that made it seem like Dr. Spalko had been eaten by the ants, much like her gigantic cohort. Right. And then she was supposed to show up and kind of have like half of her face very red and clearly scarring from having fought off all those ants. And I looked at the concept art that they had made for it, and I thought that would have been a much more interesting. It would have been more interesting because it would have been like, oh, okay, well, the villains finally got their comeuppance. Let's go get to this finale, huh? And then the actual finale happens, and all that occurs is that apparently the information is too much, and she bursts into flames. God, that is the dumbest death of the series. And what's even more hilarious to me is that it destroys everything except her boots. Her boots are the only thing that are left. Apparently,
The boots.
those Soviet-made boots are stronger than the knowledge of, what was it, interdimensional beings,
You
an
listen
alien.
to me. Russian-made boots, they withstand anything. We built
I'm
it
going
to
to tell
last.
you something. Russian-made leather stands up against anything. This baby can survive the wrath of aliens. I'm sorry. Interdimensional beings have to make that very specific.
Dimensional beings, exactly, Vladimir. Think before
I,
you
I
speak, for
that
Christ's
I will
sakes.
never forget the first time I heard that when John Hurt came out of his delusion. He's like, interdimensional beings is a point of fact. I remember sitting there going, these are aliens.
Fucking aliens,
They're
man.
just
Do it.
aliens.
Just say they're fucking aliens. Speaking of the aliens, the Crystal Skull was actually something I had heard of long before this movie ever
Yeah,
came out
the Mitchell
because of
Hedges
Indiana Jones. I
skull.
loved looking up shit like that, and I remember seeing it in a I don't know, encyclopedia or something like that, and just thinking, wow, this is incredible. Then boom, it came out in the movie. How did you feel seeing the Crystal Skull, and had you heard of it before?
Yes, I had heard of it before because being a fan of Indiana Jones since I was a kid, I'd always looked into the real history of those artifacts. There was a period of my life for the longest time where I studied nothing but the Knights Templar because of Dad and his Grail diary. And I learned about the Holy Grail and the Lance of Longinus, which is quite personally my favorite historical artifact of all time, and why I was so happy that it was the MacGuffin of the start of Dial of Destiny. Yeah. But knowing about the Mitchell Hedges skull, knowing the actual history about it, to have that be the next MacGuffin of an Indy film was very exciting because it's like, oh, I know this. And because of that, I remember I had a lot of friends who were like, is this a real thing? What's the story behind it? And so there were a lot of moments where I genuinely felt like Indy explaining the history of the real crystal skulls. And like, well, there's the Mitchell Hedges skull, but then there's about 4 or 5 other ones that look the same but are made of different crystallized materials, and there are no tool marks whatsoever. It's the most fascinating thing in the world. So,
Whenever you can use the phrase "legend has it" and actually mean what you're about to say, it's a really good fucking
when you
feeling.
Can throw on your Harrison Ford impression and go, legend has it, and then continue on telling somebody something real. Man, that to me is a life goal, a bucket list item that you can check off every day.
I totally understand, my friend. Do you personally believe in aliens or interdimensional beings?
Yes, I
whatever you want to call
do.
them. Good.
Yes, I do. Because of the experiences I've had in my life, to me, everything is possible, just like how everything is impossible. It's a Schrodinger's cat. Either the cat is dead or the cat is alive. We don't know until we look into that box.
Exactly.
So until we have unequivocal proof, which is going to be kind of impossible because the universe is expanding every single day, I'm never going to say, no, there is no such thing as aliens. But because I feel like saying that, and so many people have said it and said it as a point of fact, it's a very narcissistic thing of like, we're the only special ones, apparently.
Out of all this, we're so special. We're the only ones.
And people have their religious beliefs about it, and I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fine, but also, if there is a creator that created us, who's to say he didn't also create a whole bunch of other stuff? So, yes, I do believe in aliens. I do believe in interdimensional beings. I believe in alternate realities, time travel, all that good stuff, because it is yet, in my opinion, to be disproven.
I feel like deja vu is a hint of what may possibly be out there, because personally, I've had such intense deja vu before that it's jarring. Like it kind of stops me in my tracks, and I'm like, "What in the hell? This is so odd. This is so odd." And I feel like that has something to do with perhaps interdimensional beings crossing. I personally think it is our reality crossing over with another reality where that exact same thing is happening in that place as well. And
Yes.
so it's another version of yourself doing the same exact thing. So you kind of feel like, well, what the hell is this? Like that's personally what I feel like deja vu is. But I feel like honestly,
I couldn't
it's
agree
not
with you
just a
more.
weird feeling. I think I think it maybe is something. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree with you wholeheartedly in that belief that senses of deja vu is merely us having a moment of perfect synchronicity with another version of ourselves somewhere out there in the universe.
Dude, you really feel like that, man?
Yes, sir.
That's so nice to hear someone else agree with it. Oh, that's awesome.
You're
This has
speaking to
gone so
somebody
much better than I thought it
who
could.
has metaphysical conversations with themselves on a daily basis and loves looking up metaphysical. Like, one of my favorite things to learn about is quantum immortality. A lot of people get scared about that. Personally, I find it to be one of the most fascinating concepts in the world.
I will look that up later on, my friends. What would you say your favorite moment in the entire movie is in Crystal Skull?
Literally, the scene where Indy swings from that lamppost.
Nice.
It's just the way that happens, the camera movements, and then that really great joke afterward where it looks like Indy's about to get onto it, and then he just crashes into the car behind him, and damn, I thought that was closer.
Uh-huh.
That's just, to me, that is a perfect. You could show that to somebody and be like that's Indiana Jones.
That's
Because we'll see it and be like,
Indy.
oh, okay, this is an action. Wow, that guy's in a really cool outfit. Is that a whip? Whoa, he's swinging from it? Oh, he got so close. Haha, that was funny. Oh, he punched those guys. That is a perfect encapsulation of Indiana Jones as a character. You've got
That's
action,
true.
you've got adventure, you have a little bit of lighthearted humor, and then it knows when to get right back into it.
It's true. It's all that. It's true. All of it. It's the wrong franchise, but it's true. What would you say your least favorite moment in the movie would be?
The monkeys.
Yep. Yep.
I think that is
Yep.
the most universally accepted moment of what were they thinking? Yeah.
I'm not doing this. I'm not
That's just
doing this.
the body's natural reaction to think about those stupid CGI monkeys and Shia LaBeouf doing his best Tarzan impression.
Oh my God. Oh yeah. Well, I wasn't sure if you were like a dead set fan of this movie. Because I know there are plenty of people out there that got introduced to Indy as a result of this movie. I didn't want to shit on anyone's love.
No,
But I'm really glad it went this way, in that it's like, I feel like you feel how I feel. That there's stuff to love and there's stuff to not really love so much. But overall, we do enjoy it quite a bit. Yeah.
exactly. Because at the end of the day, and this is the most important thing, at the end of the day, it is an Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah.
And the fact that we got one at that point in time, at that era of film, just before the real big boom of nostalgia and superheroes, to have a Indiana Jones adventure that is purely just because Stephen, George, and Harrison felt like, yeah, we still got one more story left with
Just because they wanted to.
just because they wanted to, just because they wanted to get together and tell that story. That to me will always be what I love so much about Crystal Skull. And I have all the memories from that time. I remember just going through everything and anything that was related to Indy at that time on the internet, especially when all of those like first pictures started coming out. One of my favorite memories, and this is a strange one, but one of my favorite memories about the era of Crystal Skull was there's one time my mom had picked me up from school and we had decided to go to Burger King just to get something to eat. And we got stuck in line literally for an hour. But where we were stuck at, there was this giant banner for Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Cool.
And it was just this great image of Harrison leaning forward like this, just having his great stoic look on his face. And I remember just looking at it and going, I'm so glad I get to be alive to see Indy on screen again. And that to me will always be the most important part, was getting to see one of my favorite childhood heroes back on screen. And that's one of the many things that I loved about Dial of Destiny. But that's a conversation for a completely different episode of a different season.
It sure is, my friend. Well, if you can believe it, that's that for the Kevin 11. I really appreciate you jumping in last minute. I had another guest supposed to be on tonight, but dropped out, and then I asked you. You didn't hesitate for a second, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate that, my
It,
friend. You really are the best, and to the point where I want you to be the first person that I ask my new closing question. That's not part of the Kevin 11. This is just kind of like a inside the actor studios kind of thing. This was actually Kurt Brackman's idea, and I thought this was great.
Kirk has some
So this is my
really
closing
great
question.
ideas. I won't lie.
He's good with them. He's like a pinata full of ideas. I just want to beat him with them. So this is the closing question I will now ask every guest. If you could tell your 9-year-old self something, what would it be?
That's a really great question. If if I had the chance to say something to my 9-year-old self, I'd get down on his level. I want to make sure that I'm wearing my Herbert Johnson in that moment, and I would tell him, no matter how tough life gets right now, because I know how hard it is at this point, just remember, Rick never gave up when Emotep got back to full strength. Indy never gave up when the Nazis caught the Ark. Luke never gave up when he lost his hand. You're going to be okay. That's what I'd tell my 9-year-old self.
It's absolutely beautiful, buddy.
Thank you.
That is absolutely beautiful.
It comes from reflection of that, because that's a question I've asked myself a lot of what would my younger self think, because that's something that Kirk told me that I really loved. Was he said, be the version of yourself that the 10-year-old version of you wanted to be. And so every day when I wake up and I look around my man cave of a bedroom, and I look at my lightsaber collection, I look at the fact that I have a 100% accurate Indiana Jones cosplay. It's like, this is exactly who I wanted to be as a kid, and I'm still here, so that means something. It means I'm stronger than I thought I was yesterday.
That's damn right. Beautiful words from a beautiful man. Thank you so much for being my first guest for this new season.
It was beyond an honor, my friend.
I really appreciate you so much, beyond reproach. We will talk later, assuredly. I love you, pal. I really, really do, and I can't wait to talk to you again. I hope to see you one day soon.
Amen.
Take care, buddy. Have a great night.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, folks, how about that? That was a good start to the season, huh? It was a damn good start, I would say. I guess we should have talked about Crystal Skull earlier, because that was a hell of a good conversation. So thank you all so much for watching this first episode. I really appreciate you being here with me. This is really a blast to come back to. When I was writing questions out for Nathan last night, I really felt the energy come back, and it's nice to be here again with you all. So I appreciate you being here in my audience, whether you're on Instagram right now or you're going to watch this later on YouTube. From the bottom of my heart, really, thank you so much. Please join me next week, where my guest will be the wonderful Crusader Indy, Brian Styron, who is going to be setting up who already is setting up the Crusader Con that is going on in October. I can't wait to talk to him about that and Last Crusade in general. It's going to be a hell of a good conversation, and I can't wait to talk to him. And I can't wait to hopefully go on a hike this weekend and hopefully have some cool ass pictures to show you all. So, in closing, thank you. I mean, this was a great return. I really hope you had a good time with this, and I'll see you soon, everybody. Have a great night. Bye-bye.